Good afternoon. This is the final press conference of the year. I would like to reflect upon the 3 months after my appointment, and I would also like to comment on aspirations for next year. War in Ukraine, Middle East situation, East Asian security environment included. This year, we continue to face a very difficult international environment. We are at an important juncture where international affairs were quite volatile and fluid, and at such a juncture, I was appointed Foreign Minister. First, a deepening of U.S.-Japan alliance and strengthening of deterrence. Second, cooperation with allies and like-minded countries to realize free and open Indo-Pacific, and strengthening of cooperation with allies and like-minded countries for that purpose. And meticulous and precise cooperation with the Global South. These are the 3 pillars in my efforts in diplomacy. And in the meantime, I have already had more than 50 in-person meetings and more than 30 meetings via telephone. International community as a whole faces the issue of challenges to the rule of law. Last month, at the G7 Foreign Ministerial, once again, the unity of G7 was confirmed and strengthening of the unity of G7 was confirmed. And I was able to build relations based on trust with my counterpart, including from the United States. After APEC, I visited Ukraine, and I have conveyed the unwavering position of Japan that Japan stands with Ukraine. And this week, I just visited China with our neighbors, Republic of Korea and China. I have worked diligently on our relations with our neighbors. In various parts of the world, wars and conflicts still continued, and divisions in the international community become more serious. However, based on the trust that Japan fostered after the war, next year, I would like to continue to engage in diplomacy based on dialogue and cooperation to contribute proactively to peace, stability, prosperity of international community. I would like to thank the members of Kasumi Club for their cooperation this year, and I would like to ask for your cooperation next year. That is all from me.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. Please come to the nearest microphone. State your name and affiliation before you ask your question. Asahi Shimbun newspaper, Satomi-san, please. Well, thank you very much, Satomi of Asahi Shimbun newspaper. Thank you very much for this opportunity. At the very end, you mentioned the Japan-China Foreign Ministers meeting. And from the Chinese side, according to the announcement, Minister IWAYA during the meeting about historical issues, you'll maintain the position of a Murayama statement, and you expressed deeper remorse as well as a wholehearted an apology, according to the announcement. What are the facts? Did you make such a statements? And if that's not the case about historical recognition issue, what sort of expressions did you use to convey your message to the other side? Well, thank you very much. So China's announcement was not accurate first and foremost. That is the very first point I'd like to make. In regards to the point you just raised during the foreign ministers meeting, we had discussions about historical recognition, and I stated that Ishiba cabinet succeeds former Prime Minister's statements such as 1995, a so-called Murayama statement, as well as 2015, so-called Abe statement. Also, Japan-China joint declaration included based upon the 4 documents between Japan and China. Ishiba administration is maintaining and succeeding these 4 types of documents. I offered explanations as such. After the announcement after the meeting, which was made by both Japan and China, and we didn't make coordination between the 2 countries about the announcement. In regards to the remarks in China's announcement, you raised a point about, and the purport of that is what I just stated. Having said that, the Chinese side made a unilateral announcement, and on the same day to the Chinese side, we made a communication on the same day. Thank you.
Next question, Chen-san from Deutsche Welle, please. I'm Tae-Chu Lam from Deutsche Welle, a German national broadcaster. In the TV interview the other day, Minister stated that rather than Taiwan contingency, what is important is that there must be no contingency in Taiwan. In relation to that, regarding the setup of the buoys by Chinese government in the exclusive economic zone south of Yonaguni Island, I would like to ask a question. When you asked China to remove the buoys, what were the reactions from Chinese side? It seems that Chinese side or our Chinese side showing positive attitude, or the setup of the buoys, do you think indicates signs that China has within its sights Taiwan contingency? First of all, basically regarding Taiwan non-contingency and buoys, these are separate matters, in my view. Regarding Taiwan, from my side, I've stated that what is important is that there is no contingency in Taiwan, and what is important is that Taiwan issue be solved peacefully. That is what I have communicated. Furthermore, regarding the issues of the buoy, in my meeting with Foreign Minister Wang Yi, from my side, regarding the buoys set up in Japanese EEZ to the south of Yonaguni Island, including those that were found anew, regarding the buoys set up in the EEZ, I have asked immediate removal of the buoys. I have asked for immediate removal of the buoys. And we are asking for a necessary explanation from the Chinese government, and including collection of the information from the site. We are conducting various investigation and analysis from various different angles. Japanese Coast Guard has confirmed what seemingly is a weather observation equipment, as I'm aware. But regarding the intentions of Chinese side, I would like to refrain from responding with any prejudgment. This time, new buoys was found, and this is quite regrettable. As for the reactions from Chinese side, these are diplomatic communications. I would like to refrain from discussing in detail, therefore, but we will continue to demand immediate removal of buoy from Japanese EEZs at all levels to Chinese side.
Mainichi Shimbun newspaper, please. Kimu of Mainichi Shimbun newspaper, thank you very much. About Prime Minister's visit after New Year arrived. So yesterday, when Prime Minister gave a speech, he said that he would be visiting Malaysia and Indonesia after New Year arrives. And Malaysia will be the presidency of ASEAN next year, and Indonesia has the largest population within the region, and both countries are Muslim countries. And at the outset, you, Excellency, mentioned that you talked about the current severe international situation. And against this international environment, next year, 2025, as a very first activity of diplomacy by Prime Minister, he will be visiting these two countries. What is the significance of his visit? Well, I believe that the visit will be a very significant and meaningful one. I have hopes for that. As you rightly pointed out, Prime Minister Ishiba will be visiting from the 9th of January through the 12th of January, Malaysia and Indonesia. Malaysia and Indonesia are both comprehensive and strategic partners for Japan. On that basis, Malaysia is at the node of Indo-Pacific region. Also, Malaysia will be a presidency of ASEAN in 2025. As for Indonesia, Indonesia enjoys the largest population and economic size in ASEAN, so it is a major country in Global South. As the government of Japan, Southeast Asian countries are in a strategic location of maritime traffic, and they are also a growth center of the world. As such, we attach importance to the collaboration with Southeast Asian countries and to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific based on the rule of law. From the viewpoint of continuing a strong and powerful diplomacy, we'd like to continue and maintain stronger collaboration. So Prime Minister's visit to both countries has been decided. I hope that this visit will be a fruitful and productive one. And as a MOFA, we would like to extend our maximum support. Thank you.
Shimizu-san from NHK, please. This is Shimizu from NHK. About the former leader of Sea Shepherd, Paul Watson. Denmark government released Watson without extraditing him to Japan. Watson has moved to France and has continued to criticize Japanese government. What is your take, and how will Japanese government respond regarding the decision by the government of Denmark not to extradite Paul Watson to Japan? The request for extradition was not accepted. And for the reason of Japanese criminal justice system, the decision was made in a way that places blame on Japan. These are extremely regrettable, I believe. And we have launched immediate protest to Denmark side. As for Paul Watson, who has entered France, he is making arguments that are against the facts, and this is also extremely regrettable. For example, he claims that the government of Japan has blackmailed Denmark government, claiming that Japan may stop a €2 million offshore wind power project. This is counter to the fact by all means. The Japanese government has repeatedly requested the government of Denmark, based on law and evidence, to extradite Paul Watson to Japan. Regarding the decision by ICJ in 2014, it is cited to claim that Japanese whaling is illegal whaling, and this also is against the facts. 2014 ICJ's decision regarding litigations concerning whaling in Antarctica is a decision regarding scientific investigation whaling that Japan was conducting at the time in the Antarctic Sea, and decision does not find whaling, overall whaling by Japan as illegal. As for the commercial whaling resumed by Japan since then, limits operation area to Japanese territorial sea and EEZ, and is in compliance with the international law, and is carried out within the scope that will not negatively affect whaling resources in a way that will conserve the resources. In any event, regarding Paul Watson, irrespective with the discussions of whether whaling is right or wrong, injurious assaults and criminal damage to articles were committed by him. And from the perspective of law enforcement in maritime area, Japan is asking for detainment of the person and extradition of the person, and Japan will continue to approach relevant countries, including the country where Watson is residing in.
Nikkei Shimbun newspaper, please. Baba of Nikkei Shimbun newspaper, thank you very much. About the Japan-US extended deterrence guideline. So today, both governments made an announcement that such a guideline was established. What is the significance of the establishment at this particular timing? Based upon this guideline going forward, how will Japan and the US raise deterrence response capabilities? What is your view? Well, thank you. Japan and the US governments based upon the discussions accumulated through Japan-US extended deterrence dialogue, has prepared and developed guideline on extended deterrence. This document was to strengthen the procedures about the consultations and communication about existing Japan-US alliance in relation to extended deterrence and handle the strategic messaging that would maximize the deterrence. Also, to strengthen initiatives of extended deterrence by the United States, which would be amplified by Japan's defense capabilities. These are the purposes of this document. The document prepared this time around was to make realistic response to the immediate challenges in terms of security that is very severe as of today, and based upon the instructions by Prime Minister Ishiba to further strengthen the reliability of the U.S. extended deterrence and to advance such initiatives and efforts. This is very important and significant. Going forward, in light of the preparation and development of this document, through various high-level consultations, including a Japan-US extended deterrence consultation or dialogue, or Japan-US ministerial meeting in regards to extended deterrence implemented in July 2024, we would like to advance initiatives to strengthen Japan-US alliance's response and deterrence capabilities, including extended deterrence.
IWJ, please be very concise in your question. Thank you. Hamamoto from IWJ. Regarding your visit to China, Minister Iwaya, on the 25th in Beijing, where you visited, regarding the visa to Chinese, for wealthy Chinese, there will be a 10-year easing of a visa, and various other measures were announced. Why easing of visa for wealthy people, and what is the definition of the wealthy Chinese, including the asset sides? On the 25th, at the second high-level Chinese-Japan high-level people-to-people and cultural exchange dialogue about the easing of requirements for group tourism visa and new establishment of multiple visas for tourism, which is valid for 10 years, inclusive of these, easing of visa requirements for Chinese tourists was announced. The basis of China-Japan relations, needless to say, is based on exchange between our peoples. And regarding the visas to visit Japan for Chinese, we have made progress in related measures. And with the easing of the requirement this time, I believe that exchange between the two countries will become even more smooth. And I hope that this will lead to deeper mutual understanding. And as for the recently announced easing of visa requirements, this will extend the days of stay in Japan from 15 days to 30 days for group tourists. And this also includes a simplification of application documents for older-aged applicants. Proof of occupation, for example, was required, but for older age group, that will not be required, for example. And therefore, this is not a preferential treatment limited only to a certain group. As for a 10-year multiple tourism visa that will be newly established, it is not that for 10 years, unlimited stay in Japan will be possible. For each visit, the maximum length of stay in Japan is 90 days. And during the stay in Japan, this is only for tourism visa, and therefore activities that will be remunerated will not be allowed. This time, the easing of visa requirements were decided. And as I've mentioned earlier, this is not limited to only certain group. Regarding the visas from Japan, from the perspective of impact on Japan's security, not only vis-a-vis China, but certain economic conditions are attached. And I hope that you understand that.
Shimizu-san of NHK, please. Shimizu of NHK, thank you very much. In Suzhou and Shenzhen, there were some incidents in relation to Japanese schools about criminal procedures and so forth. What is the latest situation you grasp? And what about the motive and background? Did you receive explanation from the Chinese side? What is your future response policy, please? Well, thank you. The suspect of a knife-wielding attack to a Japanese mother and child in Suzhou, China, as well as the suspect who murdered a Japanese pupil in Shenzhen, were indicted respectively, and we confirmed this development. So far from the Chinese side, we received explanations that about the details of the incidents. There will be opportunities for explanations in an appropriate manner in the judicial procedures, and we'd like to continue to maintain a close communication with the Chinese side. Thank you.
Ayukawa-san from Kyoto, please. Thank you. Ayukawa from Kyoto. About the incoming Trump administration, as for your outlook next year, what kind of U.S.-Japan relations would you like to have? And related to extended deterrence, now guidelines have been established, including extended deterrence on U.S.-Japan alliance between the new U.S. administration. What are the expectations of Japan? As I've mentioned at the outset, in reflecting the past 3 months, and I have also commented on my aspirations for next year, continuously, the axis of diplomacy and security in Japan lies on the U.S.-Japan alliance. With the incoming Trump administration, close communications should be maintained to strengthen deterrence as a result of the U.S.-Japan alliance. And in every respect, we would like to elevate a U.S.-Japan alliance to a higher level. And therefore, between our Prime Minister and the President-elect Trump, and I would also like to meet my counterpart as soon as possible to build relationship based on trust, and would like to have a very close communications. International affairs are quite volatile and are changing dramatically and are in a very chaotic situation. And therefore, I hope that the new U.S. administration will exert leadership to contain the situation as soon as possible and to stabilize the situations as soon as possible. And I hope that such leadership is shown, and on the part of Japan, we would like to continue to approach U.S. in that spirit. I believe that U.S.-Japan alliance should be for the world. And between the United States, we would like to build such relationship.
So the next question should be the last one because of the next appointment. Asahi Shimbun newspaper, Satomi speaking. At the outset, there was a topic, and I have a follow-up question to that. As Japan, at the 70th anniversary, Abe statement was issued, and according to the Chinese announcement, China attaches importance to Murayama statement. Such an attitude was revealed this time around as a result of your meeting. So, where was it revealed? In China's announcement? Yes, China's announcement may be as such, but I touched upon all statements, so please avoid any misunderstanding. Okay. So Japan has produced all the latest documents and so on, and the current administration is maintaining the stance of all those statements so far, but the Chinese side has placed a particular importance on Murayama's statement. So I wish to explain that during my previous comment. Next year will mark the 80th anniversary, and on that occasion, Japan and China have a difference in terms of a focus, where to attach importance and so on. Against this backdrop, how would you like to approach a historical recognition issue? So in regards to Chinese intention, I'd like to refrain from making a comment or making speculations based upon speculations. These announcements weren't made as a result of coordination. So where they wanted to place an importance, they did emphasize. But on that basis, if I could repeat myself, there are 4 documents between Japan and China, and also Koizumi, Abe, and Murayama statements. The basic thinking is universal across all of them, and this is maintained and succeeded by the Ishiba administration, and that is the explanation that I offered. Also, it will be 80th anniversary since the end of the war. This is a major milestone year in that sense, and on that occasion, what will be done and what will be done by a Prime Minister. This will be considered and studied going forward, in my view. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all for today's press conference.